Well, hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Doctors Changing Medicine podcast. And today I have someone who I would consider a real boss, somebody who is like the ultimate entrepreneur, the whole nine yards. I have Dr. Lattisha Bilbrew here with me, and she is she's the real deal. Okay, so she is the first African American female partner at her orthopedic group, Resurgence Orthopedics, and she is, I mean, an orthopedic surgeon. And the data they just got is that African Americans make up less than a 1.5% of orthopedic surgeons, not African American females, just African Americans, period. And she's one of the females. And she is someone that, in a time when doctors are, devalued, they're burned out, they feel stuck, and all of that, she's just climbing from one level to another. It's been such a joy to watch her do her thing. So I have her on today, and you need to just lean in. If you're not driving, you want to pull out a notebook and pen because that's going to be that kind of episode. Okay, so welcome to the show, Dr. Bilbrew.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, so I'm gonna start off with this. You are truthfully a minority of minorities, right? Because you're
Right.
female and you're a woman of color and you are in a male dominated field. And I mean they're all the ands. But you're still owning your space, right? And you're still getting to where you need to go as though you don't know you're a minority, right? So walk me behind what made you this person, right? You could have played victim. You could have done so many things, but you're like, no, I'm going all the way to the top.
Man, you make it sound great. Um, I always say when it comes to you developing from the time you're a child, there are intrinsic things, which is something that I think that God just kind of drops into you, and that's just the way that you were made. And then there's extrinsic factors. And I think some of it was just intrinsic. Like I've never been one to just think that I couldn't do something. Like I was that kid that never played basketball a day in my life. Saw people playing basketball and I was like, I'm gonna try out for the basketball team. Now, did I make it? No, but did I try out? Yes. Or I think about like in middle school, I wanted to play an instrument and I chose the oboe. Why did I choose it? Because it was, oh, no one's going to play this instrument. It's the hardest instrument. There's no one there to teach you. That's the one I want. So I think there's a little bit, of just that intrinsic mentality. Now, that's childlike, which is a good thing. But as we get older, you then have to develop extrinsic things. And that is where you have to now force yourself to say, okay, this may not be comfortable for me. This may not be what I'm used to, but this is what I have to do to get to the next step. And that's something that honestly I learned from observing other people. I would look at characteristics from other people that I wanted to see in myself, and I'm like, I'm gonna copy that. And I
Ooh, I
think, for
like it.
example, like on our medical rotations as physicians, I remember the surgery rotation. I'd never been on a surgery rotation. I knew I wanted to be a surgeon, but I remember there was a classmate whose father was a surgeon. I didn't know that at the time. So she knew intrinsically how to act on a surgery rotation, how to show motivation, how to look up stuff. And I noticed, like, man, it comes natural to her. I'm over here feeling like, a circle and a square peg. And all I did for the first week was watch how she interacted with the attendings. And then I assimilated. And
Mm.
so I've always taken that model at look at who's successful in the field, wash, repeat, recycle, and just do what they do. Nothing is new under the sun. There's someone that has figured it out. You just build upon that.
And that right there is so powerful because even with the other things we do, whether that's listening to podcasts or reading books or going for conferences, is the same principle. Like
Right.
figure out what the people that are successful are doing and then copy and paste.
Copy, paste, repeat.
I love it. I love it. Okay, so there's somebody listening right now who's having a hard time at work, right? And maybe administrators have kind of created this uncomfortable situation for them. They're working longer hours and there's no opportunity per se for rising or promotion or anything like that. And, they're burnt out and they feel like there's no hope.
Yeah.
What would you tell that doctor?
I would say this, that burnt out feeling comes from somebody lighting a fire in you, getting you upset. Okay. They keep lighting the fire. Now you're a flame. Then the burnt out is when the fire just dwindles down and now you feel like you're left with nothing. You have to
Mm.
remember that there's still a fire there, right? And now you have to tunnel it into something productive. Burnt out is, it's psychological, it's emotional, it's physical, but use that flame, right? We have never had as much free time as we have now. Like let's think about our training process, the hours we put in, that burn when you were like, man, if I could only match here,
Yeah.
man, if I can only make it through this rotation, man, if I could only graduate. We have done that, to all my co-physicians. We've done the hard stuff. Dealing with someone that is making you feel burnt out, turn the flame on, use the embers of what's left, funnel it into what's now going to make it that fire that you're like, you can't outburn me no more. Like, I'm good.
You can't outburn me. Okay, I'll take that. I love it. Now we're going to shift gears a little bit. I've heard you speak about things that you wish you knew about personal finance earlier, like even in residency and stuff like that.
Right.
If you were to meet a resident right now or someone who just graduated, maybe they're about to get their first attending job, and you could only tell them three things like, okay, you don't know this about money because they don't teach us about money. Okay, I've been there, I've done that, I have 10 t shirts. These are three things you must do. What would those three things be?
Oh, this is a good one.
I knew
If
you'd
you're a
like
resident,
it.
that was really good. Now you got my brain spinning. If I have to think back what I would have listened to. The first thing would be home ownership. Residency is a minimum of 3 years. Most of us are going to be hitting 5. Go into residency and purchase a home. That would be number one. I don't care if it's a condo, townhome, single family. Get yourself a home that's going to be your revenue when you either graduate from residency or you go on to fellowship. You can then rent that out. So that's number one. Um, Number two would be start your stock portfolio now. Okay. I want you to take, $50 and just commit to it. You spend probably $50 on Starbucks and choose just one stock. Think about the place that you frequent the most. Think about an area that you show most of your interest in and just put into that and leave it alone. Don't touch it. Okay. And then the third thing would be to get yourself a financial planner. And start as early as, for residents, as your intern year, because you're going to need somebody to help you with your life insurance, your disability insurance, your disability specific insurance. You need someone that knows the ins and out and can manage that and can grow with you as you move from residency, fellowship, your first job, your attending job.
So don't wait till 10 years after residency to start. Okay, just checking.
Nope, get one now.
Okay. 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 I like it. I'll take it. And I hope all the residents heard you. Um, Now, did you buy a home or you're going like, man, that's something I should have done?
That's something I should have done. Orthopedic residency is 5 years. I did my residency in Galveston, which is an island, in Texas. So there's only so many homes. Galveston is known for the University of Texas Medical Branch. It's the largest employer. I would have had a tenant every year from the time I graduated until the time I died. I would have paid it off in full. The housing was so cheap because Hurricane Ike just came and destroyed everything. Nobody wants to live in Galveston, and it's my biggest regret that I didn't purchase a home. And it's so, with physician home loans, it's just too easy to get one.
So this is beautiful. I'm glad I asked this question then, because what that means is now you don't have to regret it anymore, because now you have thousands of doctors who are you've just saved, right? From
I'm going
having
to
to
live through every
you
one of
live
them.
through every one of them. That's how that works. So from now on, no more regret, because you like
No more
I
regrets.
fixed that problem.
There you go.
All right, one more shift. When you finished with your fellowship and you moved to Atlanta and you joined Resurgence, one of the things I noticed is that you were really big about putting yourself out there. And you put yourself out there and put yourself out there and put yourself out there. And not in an obnoxious way. This is me saying it from a point of admiration. So it wasn't obnoxious, but you did it to the point where if anybody said anything orthopedics, right, or anything hand, you would get tagged on social media, right? Like, Lattisha Bilbrew, right? And even if it wasn't hand, if it was orthopedics, we'll be like, well, Lattisha Bilbrew, do you know anybody? Like, that's the way it
Right.
started. It started happening. So for most doctors, putting themselves out there is, well, let me not say for most doctors, them, like even me, before I embraced entrepreneurship full on, is it's like, ugh, that's slimy, that's sleazy, that's not professional,
Right.
I'm an introvert, da 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 da. How did you come to that point where you embraced it? What was your why behind it? And then for somebody who's like terrified of doing it, what would you tell them?
So this is where I have to give true praise to my husband, because you're right. As medical professionals, as health professionals, we are taught that marketing is sleazy, right?
Yeah.
It is only a recent finding that you see billboards and commercials advertising physician places to go in and clinics that was never seen 10 years ago. And it was really my husband who has such a diverse background from military to corporate America that said, you need to brand yourself. And I didn't know what that meant. And I mean, we were almost like this, because he's like, this is so essential in your market, because it's a market. And you have to get comfortable in, and it's not bragging and stating who you are and walking in it. And I'll tell you something, I am, 4 years into practice, and I'm still getting comfortable with stating who I am, to say, I'm a board certified orthopedic surgeon, specialty trained in hand and upper extremity. There were times when we would go out places and I wouldn't even say that. And my husband would look at me and be like, what
What
in the
in the
world is
world?
wrong with you? And his corporate buddies, his business and military guys were like, if I had your credentials, do you know how I would be saying it? And what they don't realize is that a lot of doctors think like that. We don't want to be, blazing with a billboard. But in this day and age of the advancement of technology and social media and the marketplace and competition and reimbursement, you have to do that. You have to personally brand yourself, get comfortable in who you are, hold your head up high and say, I'm a qualified, board certified A, B, and C. I'm here to help you. What can I do? You put yourself out there, you be available, you be affable. And you'll be so surprised how your business grows. Me just once a week having a little Dr. Bilbrew's hand corner has just launched me, that now I get people from all over that come and see me. It took time to get that comfortable, but I encourage everyone that's listening, get comfortable now. Okay, you're qualified. We go through the training. You are qualified to state who you are and to broadcast it. If Coca-Cola can do it, if Nike can do it, you are no different. You're your own personal brand. And that's the best and first step to entrepreneurship, is recognizing your brand and then marketing it.
You know, you're just poking the bear, right? Poking me all kinds of ways. Because when you started doing this, you were not partner at the time, right?
No, I
Yeah.
was an employed
She
physician.
was an employed physician. And that's why, because I was like, this is what I'm talking about. Like,
Yeah.
you may not have a business like a private practice or a coaching practice, or you're an author, or you have online courses or a product line. But if you are an employed physician, your physician brand is your business. You
Right.
are an entrepreneur. You're not an entrepreneur
Right.
because you have a brick and mortar thing or you have an e-commerce website.
Right.
Your brand is your business. And I love, shout out to your husband, shout out Mr. Bilbrew. But I love that you're able to embrace that brand, because you were speaking, you were showing up on social media, you had all these videos going on. I was like, I love this woman. This is so good. So if you're employed and you're listening, you have a business. It's your physician brand. If you actually own a business, you really have a business. Okay. So you can't have the employed physician have you beat, like, go to work, right?
Right.
And you have to market it. And I love that you talked about the competition, because I say this, like, when I graduated, there were very few urgent care centers. There were almost no after hours clinics. There are
Mm-hmm.
very few states where nurse practitioners had independent practice. There's nothing like a minute clinic. Like, the thought that CVS would be my competition, it was
Right.
not a thought in my mind.
Right.
And guess what? They are all willing to compete. Amazon is in the healthcare space, and Amazon is willing to compete. So if you're not going to compete, you're just going to be the world's best kept secret.
Wow.
And
That is powerful. Hmm.
that's what it is. So yes, I mean, I watched that. You're amazing. You rock that. You surely did. And I wonder, secretly, of course, what you do as a clinician, as a surgeon, is there, but I wonder what that did. Maybe you can tell me, for your positioning, right? Like, how were you perceived at your office? How were you perceived in whether associations or whatever, because you were out there and you had a brand?
I think that there's two differing views. I think the first view, if you are employed by someone else, is, we are your marketing, right? And when I came out and I started doing these innovative things, it was like, wait, we can adopt that, right? And I almost said, listen, I can take any new physician and build them through to grow their practice, because I made partnership. You have to be there for a minimum of 2 years. I made partner in a year and 11 months. And the only thing that was holding me back from making it earlier is that they need you to be board certified. And my exam was in July. Otherwise, I would have been partner. And so, you open people's eyes when you show them the different modalities of marketing and of putting yourself out there, and you become a brand. And it's self-labeled. You create what you want to be. Create your own space. You could be working for a major hospital system, and you're one of 100 family medicine doctors. What makes you special? Okay, one of 100 internal medicine doctors. What makes you? It could be something as simple as your bedside manner. You can plug in social media, Dr. Smith, your favorite doctor with the best bedside manner, and that's your tagline. And guess what? You're gonna have a patient that walks in that you like. You're the bedside manner doctor, but now you got to live up to it, right?
Yep.
It's like I put this thing out there. I have to live up to make sure that I stay on top of always educating myself about orthopedics, still going to conferences, still, maintaining my certifications, going to academy, and making sure that I really, really am the best. I can't be saying I'm the best and I'm doing a procedure that's dated. And they're like, oh, have you heard of this? And I'm like,
No.
no, I have not. So maintain, it pushes you also to maintain that same level of excellence.
Keep poking the bear. Okay, I'll take it. I love it. I love it. And you guys would have heard me say shifting gears a number of times, because that's just how many facets there are to Dr. Bilbrew. Okay, so shifting gears again. So you do a gazillion things, right? Because there's Dr. Bilbrew Consulting. There's the stuff you do for the high schoolers who want to get
Mhm,
into medical school. There's real estate. There's all the other things, right?
mhm.
So my question to you is, what is the why behind that, right? Because you're already orthopedics, you're already partner, you're already a trailblazer, so why all these 10 other things? And two, where do you find the time for all these things?
My question would be, why not? If it interests you, go for it, right? When I met my husband in 2013, I knew about one thing, and that was orthopedics, and I knew everything there was to know. And but talking to him, I realized that there's a lot of other stuff, and he got me into real estate, and I fell in love with it. And the way we are as physicians is our brains work so quickly that if we choose a topic, whether it's real estate or stocks or I don't know, basket weaving. When we plug our mind into it, we get to know everything there is, and we become the Cermat expert in it. and we do better than people that have been doing that field for years. Just
Yes.
try it. Just pick anything that you want. With real estate, once my husband realized how quickly my brain caught on, he was like, bet. Let's build this empire, right? Like, here's a ring, put a ring on it. And I love real estate. I love learning about flipping homes and about the changing markets. I love scholarship. And so finding, people that look like me, getting them interested in medicine in my women in medicine brunches. That's one of my passions. My toy drive. I remember every Christmas having a toy. Couldn't imagine not having a toy. Dr. Bilbrew toy drive came out of it. And now my newest thing is, if I could share a short story.
There's more things. Oh, you can share a story.
Yes,
Please
there's
go
more.
for
And
it.
I
Yeah.
find time because it's 24 hours in the day. And, I can get by on like 6 hours of sleep. That's me, but trust me, I do sleep on the weekends. But something happened to me just 2 weeks ago, and we have people called reps in surgery. And they're the people that we use for the implants. And I'm in a white male dominated field, and in walks this other Black female, and I ignore her. God forgive me, and I think she's the X-ray tech. What people do to me all the time. And I look at her name badge, and guess what? Courtney Hook is my Synthes rep. Mind blown, right? And I thought it impacted me so much that I'm like, number one, that is a doggone shame. 10 years of being an orthopedic surgeon, you've only seen one Black female rep.
Wow.
Number two, it's a shame that you did what everyone else does, which is you must be the person that cleans the room. And so I said, how do I change that? Talk to her boss, Adam, and who was a white male, but still, for the cause. And I said, so this shouldn't happen. Put me on a board somewhere. So that's the key thing. If you are not doing something, ask for it and it shall be given. Put me on somewhere. And he was like, okay. Got me an email, put me in contact with Dr. Sparks, the vice president for Johnson & Johnson. Guess what we're planning? Now an orthopedic industry sponsored program to create a pipeline and I'm very specific. I only see the world through my lens, right? For Black women, so that they can also become reps and move their way up, because it's a great field where you can become a high earner. So you got to find the time, because there's deficits out there. There's things that need to be done. And for me, it's recognizing where through my lens, I see a deficit or something where I can plug myself in. And then applying myself. And so now that's my new big project, which is but by the time I am saying I'm retired, I need to be looking around, and it is a commonplace thing that I see a Black female in this position. I don't want to ever think to myself, where is she? No, she is me, I is she. And we are going to grow. And that's where you got to find time. You don't get burnt out when you do what you love and you find a passion for. You just rekindle that fire somewhere else. So sometimes my fire shifts. Some months it's like I'm heavy into the real estate, commercial properties. During COVID, it was into stocks. I was learning everything. Right now, it's into, the whole diversity initiative. I keep it moving like a spinning cycle, but I never let one fall. And then you have to know yourself. When it gets to be too much, where you're like, time out. I did that during my maternity leave for 4 months. Did nothing. Sat back. It was the greatest 4 months. And then I got right back to it.
Okay, so if we unpacked what you just talked about, that would be maybe 17 podcast episodes. That was really good. And this is a quote I'm gonna borrow, right? I find time because there are 24 hours in a day.
Yeah.
Like, and everybody has 24 hours. The people who run 200 companies, they have 24 hours. So what's my problem? And one of the things I admire about you is that you don't see problems and play victim. You don't see problems and whine and complain. You see problems and you're like, wait a minute, we need to fix that.
Right.
And it doesn't have to be every problem, but most of the time the problems you're called to fix are the problems that bother you, right? Because there's some problems you're like, wow, that's sad. But it's not as sad. It doesn't bother you as much. Like you said, you see the world through your own lens. And that's okay, because if we all fix the problems in our lane, the world will be a better place. We don't have to fix everything, right? Exactly. We just have to fix so it's so amazing that your thing is, women of color, African American women, getting them in those positions, getting them into med school. You do the same thing for those who are trying to go into orthopedic surgery, because I've met a few of your mentees and stuff like that. And that's your lane, and you're just owning it, and you're choosing to be the answer. And that is amazing. You're amazing.
That would sounded so good.
Yeah, you should give this to your husband and say, some things you didn't know about
Right?
me. But he got a lot of praise in this, so he'll be
He
fine with
did. I
it.
gave him his props.
Yeah. But this is good. So what would you say to the doctors? Let's kind of recap it this way, right? I know it's difficult times, right?
Mhm.
I know it's challenging times. And I know that we're in the middle of a disruption. So it's just different.
Yeah.
But we're not victims though, right? And
Right.
we're still in the driver's seat, right? Because it's still our careers, it's still our businesses. So
Right.
for that person who's just feels stuck and frustrated and burnt out, and like this is the way it's always going to be, it's horrible what's happening to medicine, what do you tell them to light a fire in them so they can get up and grab the steering wheel and go back into driving their careers?
I would say don't underestimate your skill set. You have, as a physician, as a doctor, a skill set that other people would fiend for, and it's all up here. Whether you're someone that does procedures or not. I'm not talking about, surgeon versus a non-surgeon, or interventionalist. I'm talking about your skill set that you honed from the time you decided to become a doctor, the courses that you decided to take, the initiative, the perseverance, the sleepless nights. That is a skill set. The discipline, that is a skill set that very few people in other industries have. And if they do, they're at the top of the food chain. They're a CEO, they're a CFO, they're a COO. Don't think just because you're employed, or you want to start your own practice and it's just don't underestimate yourself. We're capable as physicians of such great things. I think we forget because words have been changed to provider, or there are other people with a doctorate. No, being an MD or a DO distinguishes you above all else. You just got to find the time and it's there. You got to find the motivation and it's there. And like I said, that burnt out feeling, no such thing. Okay. You have the choice. Take time off if you need to, or just take a mental break during the day or the week if you need to. But burn that fire elsewhere. Find that passion again. That, like me, 24 hours in a day, let's go. I love my job, so it's easy. But if you don't, love your skill set. Love the fact that you have acquired a tools. You have a box of tools that could be applied to any field, and not many people have that.
Okay, people, those are your marching orders. I hope you got it. Where
Roger
can
that.
people find you? I love this.
I'm on Facebook. I'm on Instagram. I have two Instagram accounts, Lattisha Bilbrew _MD and Dr. Bilbrew Consulting. You can find me on either one. I'm with Resurgence Orthopedics. I have two offices. One is in Decatur, one is in Snellville. If you do have an orthopedic or upper extremity problem, I'll be more than happy to see you. I'm the best there is, your friendly community hand surgeon.
I'm the
Um,
best there is. That's
I'm
how
the
you
best
own
there.
your.
I
That's
say
how
that to
you
my
own your
patients.
expertise. Yes,
I'm the best doctor the best hand surgeon you're gonna find. Take it or leave it.
I love it. All right, so I usually end the podcast this way. I talk about the Doctors Changing Medicine podcast being more than a podcast; it's a movement, right?
Yeah,
And I say that because one day I came to a realization: there's a million of us. Like, how can we just
yeah,
sit and complain about what we don't like? There's a
yeah,
million of us. If we don't like the system, we can change it. And
absolutely.
so, one of the things I tell people to do is I'm like, you have to share the podcast. You have to share the episode. You have to let other doctors know that our options are literally limitless, right?
Right.
So, what would be the reason why a doctor listening right now should share this episode of the Doctors Changing Medicine podcast?
I think for them to refine themselves again. to cancel out burnt out culture. I want us to even stop saying that. I want us to be burned inwards with a new passion. I want them to share it to understand their value again. Understand your value, and back to that skill set and what you're capable of, that you can do extraordinary things, because we've been through a training process that not too many people would be able to endure. And because we've survived it, we've walked through that with our head held high. You can do anything. You are your own CEO. You're qualified.
You are your own CEO. You are qualified. Phew. Okay. People, share the episode. She has said it. Thank you
Share it.
so much for coming on. And thank you for sharing all of this because it's so powerful. And, I'm a ball of fire, but I think I'm more fired up after listening to this. I'm like, what? Let's go. You know.
That's right.
So thank you so much for coming on. I truly appreciate it.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. And I enjoyed it so much. You're great.
Yay. All right, people. I will see you on the next episode of the Doctors Changing Medicine podcast. Go and be the CEO of you. You're qualified.